and welcome to Writing Comedy, a cozy mystery masterclass. My name is Kirsten Weiss, and I've published 70 mysteries as of a month ago. And most of those have been cozy mysteries, and those cozy mysteries have some degree of comedy. Some are funnier than others. I found that I really enjoy writing comedy. I love reading comedy. I think comedy is so important in our lives at any time, but especially when people are really stressed out right now with the change in the administration and everything in the world seems kind of up in the air, and no matter what side of the aisle you're on. And I don't want to talk about politics, but I know a lot of people are stressed. And that's a great time for comedy. And it's a great gift, I think, to be able to make people laugh. So let's get into it. And I am talking about comedy from the perspective initially of cozy mysteries. Although, as I mentioned in my promotions for this, if you just want to learn how to write jokes, how to be funnier, or to use comedy in other kinds of mysteries, you can do that as well. But there are some peculiarities to the cozy mystery and comedy, which I want to touch on. First, so we're all on the same page and know what we're talking about when I say cozy mystery. This is a specific subgenre of mystery using where there is an amateur detective. So the cops are side characters, they're not the main characters. It's usually set in a small community. There's no blood or gore. There's no explicit sex. So the body is discovered. All the violence happens off the page, and then the detective will discover the body, or somebody else will discover the body. It's really more about the puzzle of solving the mystery and the fun of interacting with the characters. The criminal is always brought to justice at the end. If you don't do that, mystery readers, or at least cozy mystery readers, get really upset. There needs to be some form of justice. I don't write the rules, that's just what they are. And cozy mysteries are frequently funny, which is murder funny? No, murder is not funny at all. It's horrible. But I think part of the appeal of the cozy mystery is because the murder is brought to justice and everything kind of comes right at the end. There's this feeling of everything was broken apart, everything comes back together. So there's a satisfaction to it. And when it comes to the funny side of it, even though we usually don't see dark humor or gallows humor like we might in a police procedural where the cops are kind of making dark jokes around the body to lighten the tension, you don't typically see that in cozy mysteries because dark and gallows humor is not cozy. But this is an amateur detective. They've got other things in their life. They might be managing a bake shop or a bakery, or dealing with an ailing parent, or dealing with a crazy, not literally crazy, but an irritating parent or family member. So this is all going on around the amateur detective in their life as they're trying to solve the mystery. And that's where the funny usually comes in. There will frequently be small town shenanigans because it's set in a small town. Cozy mysteries thrive on quirky characters, and there can be a lot of humor in that. And as I touched on, funny subplots are a staple of cozy mysteries. Okay, so really quickly, I wanted to put this up so I didn't forget to say it to everybody. So what is funny? I'm going to be going over all of these things in more detail. Awkward situations are funny. We have all been in awkward situations where we've had toilet paper attached to the bottom of our shoe and been walking around and we didn't know it until way too late. Oddball locations can bring humor to something. For example, my big mystery series, you can see the cover for it here, is set in a town that is going for the Guinness World Record for the most Guinness World Record breaking big things. So they have this giant lawn flamingo. Outrageous characters that say and do funny things. Wordplay, which works particularly well with dialogue or internal monologue. A lot of cozy mysteries are written in the first person, so the internal monologue is basically the narrative, and you can litter it with wordplay there. And then physical comedy. I am not ashamed to admit that I am not beneath the old football to the crotch joke. Although in my book, was it Never Say Chai, it was a mini pumpkin to the crotch using a t-shirt cannon. It works, it's funny. The challenge, I would say, with physical comedy is you have to write it really tight. You can't explain the joke. You have to write tight for all of comedy. but it can be kind of hard to describe the action, but it's doable. What the final thing that's funny is truth. You've probably heard it's funny because it's true. Well, yeah, it is funny because it's true. We need emotional truth in our humor. It has to resonate. It has to feel real to us to feel funny. Then we can relate to it. So I'd like to do a reading now from Steeped in Murder to illustrate some of these types of humor in this scene. It shouldn't take long. Anyways, Steeped in Murder is book 1 in my Tea and Tarot mystery series. Someone's here. Taking my arm, Hyperion dragged me away from the door. I grabbed the nail gun off the table, and he pulled me into the pantry. Shelves layered with dust and random bits of electrical wire lined the walls. Turn off your flashlight, he said, hoarse. It is off. Whoops, I'll turn mine off. There was a click, and the darkness was absolute. Straining my senses, I scented something acrid. Do you smell smoke? I asked in a low voice. No, but something rattled in the hallway outside. Oh my God, it's the killer, he whispered, yanking me closer. My hands turned clammy. Someone was in the building, and if whoever was here meant well, they'd have called out to us. It wasn't as if we'd been quiet. Whoever it was had to know we were here. The scent of smoke grew stronger. I really think I smell smoke. No, yes. On shaky legs, I pulled away from him and toward the pantry's entry. I fingered the trigger on the nail gun. And smoke means fire. We can't wait in here. That's probably what Reince thought of this, turning on his flashlight. He aimed it up at his chin, casting his face in demonic shadows, right before he was beaten to death. And may I remind you, Reince was bigger than the both of us put together. Turn that off. I peeked from the pantry. You are not the boss of me. A faint, flickering glow illuminated the kitchen doorway. Fire, I said, mouth dry. The building's on fire. We have to go. I fumbled, lurching forward. My unlit flashlight clunked onto the floor and vanished in the darkness. Wait. Hyperion grabbed my arm, spinning me into his chest. Give me that gun. He released my arm and grabbed for the nail gun. I jerked away. His flashlight wobbled. Shadows sped across the shelving. I gasped, and the barrel of the nail gun bumped into something. Ka-chunk! The gun jumped in my hands. Hyperion shrieked and crumpled to the floor. Horrified, I stared at the nail gun in my hand. I'd shot Hyperion. Okay. So if we go through that, there's all sorts of little things which contribute to the humor of that scene. She asks him, he tells her to turn off her flashlight. It is off. Whoops, I'll turn mine off. It's funny coming from a guy to say whoops. And also whoops is just a funny word. You are not the boss of me. It's cliche now, but the fact that it's cliche is kind of funny here, this little thing. Ka-chunk. The sound is funny, especially because it has the K sound in it. I'll explain more about that later. And then we have the physical comedy of Hyperion getting shot with a nail gun. So there's a lot of little stuff in that scene that kind of builds together to make it funny. Okay, so this is our first exercise. Yay! When coming up with an awkward or a funny situation for a story, just think of the situation you're writing about, think of the worst thing that can happen, and make it funny. Alternately, you can work on breaking expectations. Breaking expectations is a key to writing humor. For example, I'm getting married in the fall, and so weddings are on my mind. And I wrote a joke for my stand-up act about that. When you think about a wedding, what are your expectations? The white dress, wedding cake, bridesmaids, flower girl. I stopped on flower girl. And here's the joke I wrote. I'm getting married in the fall. Did anybody here ever planned a wedding? It's a pain, right? Yeah. My fiance and I are trying to keep it streamlined and simple, but his granddaughter really, really, really wants to be flower girl. And she's so adorable, dancing around the house, practicing her rose petal toss, that I finally gave in. She's 34. As long as her water doesn't break, it'll be fine. So the expectation that I broke was I made her 34 years old. When I'm talking about her, when you talk about a flower girl, you expect the flower girl to be a little girl. And I should add that whenever I tell that joke, my fiance really cringes because he's 60 and there's like no way he can have a 34-year-old granddaughter, which he continuously reminds me. But I'm exaggerating. If I'd said 18 years old, which is where I first went with a joke, it just wasn't as funny. So you exaggerate it and make her 34 instead. And then I escalated it by making her pregnant. So how do you apply this when you're writing a story? Well, you could have a 34-year-old pregnant flower girl in your story. You don't have to tell that as a joke. Okay, so get out your pen and paper and think about a situation in your life that you're working about to go into, or a situation in a book that you're working on, and just write down, list all the expectations you can think of. Brainstorm with yourself expectations people have for that situation, whether it's going to church, going to, working as an accountant, or whatever it is. And then on the other, list that on one side of your paper. On the other side of the paper, think about how you can break that expectation, or flip it, make it the opposite, and then see if you can escalate it and make it even funnier. So let's take 5 minutes for that. Does anybody want to share what they came up with in the chat? I'll get it started. So I'm working on my paranormal museum mystery right now, and I was thinking for like a museum event, some expectations are fancy dress, haughty waiters, hors d'oeuvre trays being moved around, maybe a 4-piece orchestra, speeches, and art snobs. And I broke them with fancy dress. Somebody shows up in totally inappropriate dress. The waiters you expect them to be haughty, but there could be like some saucy, smart ass waiter. Drop the hors d'oeuvre trays, or like really kind of lowbrow hors d'oeuvres, maybe like hot dogs on a stick. The 4-piece orchestra is awful. The speeches, the violinist in the orchestra is making little funny squeaky violin sounds to accompany points in the speech. And this one I really like. Instead of art snobs, have a velvet painting snob. I need to put a velvet painting snob now in one of my books because I think that could be hilarious. Okay, who's got something? Who's got some funny scenarios they could break? Anyone want to put anything in the... Come on, don't be shy. Oh, you don't have to. I mean, if you don't want to, you don't have to. But does nobody want to say anything? Oh, okay, we have things to chat. Yay. All right. This is hard story done. Okay. All right, Colleen, lay us on it. Lay it on us. Okay. You're going to be presenting at a conference. Standing at a podium. You're shorter than the podium. Yes, exactly. Yes, you're somebody's standing at a podium and they're shorter than the podium. Yes, and everyone's looking at you. Well, they're trying to look at you, but you're hidden behind the podium. Okay, the crowd is distracted by hecklers, or only one person in the audience. Oh my God, that would be awful. That would be so awful. But that person in the audience is a super fan, a super fan. Okay, you should be on time, but I'm assuming you're getting there late or at the wrong room or not there after the intro. Yes, exactly. Those things could all be made into funny situations. Getting there late, showing up at the wrong room, especially if you show up at the wrong room and start to give your lecture to the wrong crowd. Okay, Betsy says, I did presenting as well. You get a professional haircut, but your regular hairdresser is having a meltdown and gives you a terrible haircut, so you maybe try to find a wig. Yes, that could be a very funny situation in the book. Diane Kelly says, taking a vacation in Redwoods, expectations, serene setting, calmness, cute cabin, wildlife, campfire marshmallows, peace, night sky. Breaking expectations, mosquitoes around the fire, scary encounters with bear or buck, cabin roof leaks, it smells musty. Everyone trying to escape just all end up at the same vacation site and it's crowded. Cloudy, can't see sun or stars, noisy from other campers or logging activity. Yes, that is all good. These are all great. Yes. Those are wonderful. So do you see, it's actually, if you have a situation in a book and you need funny, this is all you need to do is just start making lists and breaking those expectations. And you may not be able to break every expectation, but you'll probably be able to break a few of them and get some funny scenes out of it. So you are all funny. Congratulations. Another source of humor in books is outrageous characters. For example, Hyperion Knight in my Tea and Tarot series. He will say and do outrageous things. He's actually a very kind person, though, so we like him even if he's saying and doing outrageous things. He's very funny. And the outrageous characters can be somebody for the hero or heroine, your amateur detective, to riff off of. Now, when I was first writing Cozy Mystery, my amateur detectives were always the straight men to the crazy going on around them. I decided with my Tea and Tarot books to stretch and try to make my heroine funny in her own right so that she's giving as well as she's getting. Either works. The straight man is a great character for a reason, because the stiffer they are, the funnier the stuff going on around them is. But again, having the hero or your detective being funny as well, it can be a lot of fun. So do one of those. Oddball locations. Again, these seem like shticks or gimmicks, but you know what? They work. So oddball objects are things that the hero can get in trouble with and interact with. For example, in my big series, I mentioned the giant lawn ornament. I mean, it's huge. It's like several stories tall. I have a crossover novel where Susan from Wits End goes to the town and she ends up on top of the world's biggest lawn flamingo. She gets stuck, of course, and then the fire department has to come and get her. And then she gets arrested. And Susan's character is she is very much a straight man, but she's also very high anxiety. She likes to control things. And so getting thrown in jail were more opportunities for hilarity, because it's just, it could have been awful, but I'm writing cozy, so it's not awful, it's funny. But if you can put them into weird scenes and weird situations, it helps. And oddball locations works. Can work. You don't have to do it. Think about objects, not just locations, but objects in your scene that can be funny. Like the rude statue in the museum that you're kind of embarrassed about, whatever. And finally, wordplay. So there's so much with wordplay. Surprising, sarcastic, exaggerated humor, and or words with double meanings. Wordplay can be used in dialogue. It can be used in internal monologue. Again, if you're writing first person, it's in a sense, it's almost all internal monologue. It's not dialogue, because your hero is telling it from his point of view or her point of view. So for example, this came from Never Say Chai. There are some things that should go without saying. For example, don't leave a coffin in your business partner's driveway. It's just not done. So this is surprising. It's sarcastic. Words that end with K sounds. For some reason, I do not know why, but in the English language, people who are native English speakers find words that end with K sounds to be hilarious. So avocado, Buick, these are funny words. I have an elderly aunt. She's in her 80s now, but when she was 75 years old, she broke her hip falling out of an avocado tree. And the fact that she broke her hip, not funny. It was very painful for her. The fact that she did it falling out of an avocado tree is hilarious. And it would not have been as hilarious if she'd fallen out of a fig tree. To this day, I still tease her about falling out of an avocado tree. Because what's a 75-year-old doing in an avocado tree? But there's just something about the word avocado because of that K sound, which is funnier than fig or plum. So if you can work a word with a K sound at the end into your humorous bit, it will make it funnier. Don't ask me why. Funny names. Again, is it a gimmick? Yes. Does it work? Yes. So I have a character named Dieter Finkelkraut, and his personality pretty much goes along with his name. He's in my Paranormal Museum Mystery series. People come up to me and mention him who are fans of the series because the name stands out. It's just funny, and it has that K sound in it as well. Another type of wordplay is the rule of three, where you set up a pattern. One thing, two things, they're the same, and then the third thing is something wildly different. If you've seen the movie The Mummy with Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz, there is a scene where Rachel Weisz's character is in this big room. I think it's like it's either in a library or a big museum. And she's alone, or she thinks she's alone, and then she hears something crash, and she freezes, and she says, "Muhammad, Mahmoud, Bob." And the Bob is funny because you're expect first Muhammad and Mahmoud, they're both Arabic names. They both start with M. You've got the pattern. And then Bob at the end, this short, funny, very English sounding name. One of the jokes I told in my stand-up, it wasn't a huge one. Didn't get a huge laugh, but I got laughs. It was being a writer is great. I love working from home, setting my own schedule, and then a pause, plotting murder. True. That's exactly what I do. But again, it's the rule of three. Working from home, normal. Setting my own schedule, okay, all normal. And then plotting murder, not normal. With wordplay, brevity really is the essence of wit. Word economy matters. You don't want to have to explain the joke. You don't want to have to go into really big detail. This is one of the reasons why writing physical comedy is hard, because you're trying to explain everything that's happening that makes it funny. And the more you explain, the less funny it becomes. So you just have to be really, really tight with your comedy. Okay. Different types of funny. Self-deprecating humor. This is when we tell jokes about ourselves. We're making fun of ourselves. We don't want to get too dark. We don't want to elicit pity. We want to elicit laughs. So don't be a sad sack. Don't let your characters be a sad sack. We're going to do another very similar exercise to the first one where you're going to make two lists. So get out your pen and paper again. I want you to list what people think about your character, or about you if you don't have a character. So just list what people think about you. Think about what they think about the job that you do, your career, your hobbies. What do they think about that? So if you are a passionate martial artist, what expectations do people have for people who are passionate martial artists? If you are a dog lover or a cat lover, what expectations do people have about that? If you work as an accountant or a spy or an opera singer, what expectations do people have? Make your list, and then down the other side of the paper, break those expectations. For example, a lot of people think being a writer is glamorous. If you've been to many of these sessions of mine, you know it is not, but people think it is. So how can you break that expectation in a way that's funny? In my stand-up act, I said a lot of people think being a writer is glamorous. And Agatha Christie, Queen of Mystery, got a knighthood, and she got to have tea with the actual queen. My publisher got me a hot dog in the Costco parking lot. It was winter. So instead of just saying, yeah, my life's not glamorous, you show how the life is not glamorous. So let's take, this was 5 minutes. Okay, let's wrap it up. As I mentioned, I'm working on my paranormal museum one, and I'm a museum curator. My expectations were she would go to fancy parties, have a lot of intellectual conversation, have nice clothes, knowledge of fakes, and expense account. So her fancy parties at her museum would be a parking lot picnic with a barbecue that's very, very smoky. It's like burning everybody's eyes. It's so smoky. Intellectual conversation. I think she could be at a party at somebody else's fancy museum and gets into an argument about whether ghosts are naked or if they keep the clothing they die in. Nice clothes. She's always in a hoodie and jeans. As for knowledge of fakes, she neither knows nor cares if things are fake because she runs a paranormal museum. So if it's fake, it's like, whatever. These aren't quite as winners as the ones I came up with before, but expense account. What's an expense account? What did anybody else come up with? Oops. Anybody? Okay. Somebody's in the chat. Okay, people think presenting at conferences is glamorous, says Collie. The con pays for your fabulous suite. There's a great bar at the hotel. Fans fawn all over you. Post-pandemic, though, my main concern at our online conferences is making sure my Zoom background isn't accidentally erasing my shirt. That is good. That is very funny, Collie. Yay. Anyone else? Okay. Diane, glamorous writer, fancy outfit for book signings, readings, worldwide book tours, fans who bring flowers, publishers who get you on TV. The reality, length of leg hair and toenails tells you how close you are to a deadly, I can't read. Sorry, something popped up, so I can't read the whole thing. Contracts don't get renewed. Nobody shows up to your book signing, but at least you get to buy books at the store. Scheduling your own book tour, car breaks down, have to walk to an event and get all sweaty. Fans who would cost you for not having the book end the way they wanted. Yes, those are great. I love it. Kristen Carter, hot naturalist attracted to the female detective is actually a crossdresser. Yeah. An accountant, most boring job ever until the client receipts show what is rather unexpected lifestyle. Yes. Yes. Oh, happy birthday, Jackie. I told everyone I didn't want to acknowledge it, but come on, 50 phone calls, texts, and cards because nobody invited me out. No party. Next year I'd plan my own. Oh. Well, so is it really your birthday? Yeah, happy birthday. Yes, 50s are actually pretty good. I learned a lot in my 50s and life has become easier in many ways. So yes, yay to 50. All right. Anybody else? Oh, you're 68. Okay. Sneaky Jackie. Well, happy 68. Okay. Moving on. Another type of humor is comparison humor. So for example, to do this, combine one thing you love with one thing you hate and build a joke out of it. And we do this again with lists. So for example, I hate bureaucracy. I love sourdough. Bureaucracy is like sourdough. It doubles in size every 8 hours. So get your sheet of paper and pen out again. List things that you or your character love down one side of the page. Down the other side of the page, list things that you or your character hate. And then combine one love with one hate. Make some sort of comparison. How do they compare to each other? How is this like that? And turn it into a joke. So this actually works really well for dialogue. If you're trying to stretch for funny dialogue, good for inner monologue. Anyways, let's give it a try. Let's take 5 minutes again. This one's a little trickier. So does everybody understand that? If you could give me a bunch of ones if you understand it, and 2 if you do not understand it, or just say no, I don't understand it in the comments. 1. So Kat says 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay, good. Well, if you don't understand it after the exercise, you will understand it. Okay, let's go. Okay, we went overtime there. All right, so this one is harder, Collie. I was struggling with this too. So these are things, your first time out, you'll write something and you've got it's kind of there, but not really. Writing funny, you really have to massage stuff and you really need to edit. So if you don't get something perfect right now, that's fine. As long as you get something you can work on or somewhere you can go with it. So the 2 that I came up with, they're not great, but there's a seed of something there. So my sister, my sister is actually on this call. So I'm not talking about you, Alice. This is my character's sister, Melanie, was like a roadside attraction, overpriced and hard to reach. Board meeting, another one for my same character. Board meetings are like burritos. Best if you don't get into the details. Again, not great, but there's a seed of something there which, I can work with. So what do you have? And does anybody have anything? Again, if it's not great, that's okay because you've got a seed there that you can work with. And again, I will say it again, humor is a lot of editing. Oh, Diane. Okay. You're welcome, Diane. I will send you the link to the replay and the slideshow as well. So thanks for being here. Kristen says, love children, but they invariably make a strewn out mess. Reminds me of my thought processes. A good idea become a strewn out mess, as in trying to solve a crime. Yeah. Okay. Fast cars can have the same thrills and pitfalls as hot men. It's fun until you get pulled over or they introduce you to their significant other. I like that, Jackie. That's good. So yeah, these are both, again, both of those could probably be, heartburn is like cozy sofa time. It's really warm and it fills you up. Oh, that's very sweet, actually. and cute. That's cute, Collie. Keep this stuff. Don't throw it away. Jackie, work on it. Tighten it up. And yeah, Kristen, I think you got something there too. You just got to tighten it up a little bit. Yeah, we need technology to make dealing with stupid people easier. Yes. Thank you, Eva. That's funny. I could see a character saying that. It's a little bit hard, but it'd be funny from a particular character. That could be very funny coming out of their mouths. Good job. All right. Good job, everybody. Okay, final tips and takeaways, and then we're going to get into Q&A. For writing funny, it really does help to brainstorm with friends. So if you get a chance to do that. You know, take your jokes, work on your jokes, or work on your ideas and brainstorm them. See how you can make them funnier or tighter. Exaggerate, exaggerate, exaggerate. Again, a 34-year-old flower girl is just funnier than an 18-year-old flower girl. And don't punch down. These are cozy mysteries, so there's people you can make fun of, and there's people it's not as fun to make fun of. So there's a mystery writer who I really like, Joan Hess, who's unfortunately passed on she passed on a few years ago. Her Claire Malloy series is hilarious. I love it. But she has this series set in a small town in the South, and the butt of the jokes are the people in the town, and she really portrays them as just so stupid. I mean, you're like slow, the Neanderthal stupid. And I didn't think it was very cozy funny. It was punching down. They were poor, they were uneducated, and she just mocked them mercilessly. And I didn't think it was very nice. So for cozy mysteries, you know, don't punch down, punch up. And again, be emotionally honest. Tell the truth. You can feel it in your heart when something is funny because it's true. So your homework is just keep practicing this. Brainstorm situations in your books, list expectations, and break as many as you can. Choose the best, make them funnier, and just throw out the worst and move on. And please do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you go to my YouTube channel at Kirsten Weiss-Writer, you can find my student stand-up show where the jokes that I do are all variations on the processes that I told you, from rule of 3 to self-deprecating humor. It's all there. My stand-up instructor told me people are usually good at one of two things, either writing jokes or telling jokes. And he said, Kirsten, you're really good at writing jokes. I said, okay, I get what you're saying. So I will not be a rival for Dave Chappelle anytime soon with my stand-up, but the jokes are there.